Hello, and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. I'm your host, Derek Tenkar, your bartender in the OSR, your main proprietor at the Tenkar's Tavern blog. So, yesterday, I had an interview or sit down chat, fireside chat, whatever the fuck you want to call it, with Vince Florio. And it's been a topic, well, it's been a conversation starter, I should say. And the conversation is pretty much about new blogs, Anchor. What does it mean now? What does it mean for the future? Uh, let me say this. I see what's going on with Anchor, very similar to what went on with Blogger. Suddenly, everybody in the OSR had a blog. Before that, everybody was posting on forums. Before blogging really hit its stride, or you had a high-end website, and Blogger lowered the entry bar. I still use the Blogger interface. I might own my own domain, tenkarstavern.com, but I use the Blogger interface. Why? Because the entry bar is low. I don't need to do a lot more than type out my posts. I don't need to know programming. I don't need to know HTML. The few times where I've wanted to add stuff like that, I've reached out to people in the community that could help, and that was great. Awesome stuff. But I don't need it. I don't need the knowledge. I don't need the knowledge to produce a successful blog. With Anchor, you don't need the technical skills to produce um, a serviceable podcast. You're not going to have all the bells and whistles of some of the, uh, dare I say, more professionally published podcasts, but you don't need it. It isn't what you need. What you need is to get your voice out there. Uh, some people do more with Anchor than others. I know some people like Old Man Grognard, Glenn Hallstrom. He records stuff not in the app but separately, and then he tweaks it and he edits it and all that. And I don't edit shit. Okay, editing is way beyond what I want to do for a podcast. So I create it with Anchor. When I do the interviews, I do it on the Discord channel. I use the Craig bot to record. And as I tell my guests, the moment I invite Craig into our voice chat room, it starts recording. We are live. I'll give you the silent countdown. 3, 2, and welcome to the Tavern Chat podcast. That's how I do it. And when we leave, all right, folks, thank you for listening. Later. And I already have Craig, the CraigBot command code for it to leave. And once it leaves, it stops recording. 9 times out of 10, I don't have to go in there and edit shit. Even if I had to edit shit, I'd probably leave it anyway. Why is that? Because this is the level of podcast experience that works for me. I've been on other podcasts. They are very good. I'm very proud of it. The Brainstorm podcast was fucking awesome. And I think it sounded really good, and I think it was well produced, but it is not something that I could have produced. It's not something that I have the technical skills for. So, Anchor has lowered the barrier of entry. What does that mean? It means that you have a lot of podcast options out there that you didn't have before. Just like with Blogger, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way when I say it. I'm not pointing fingers at any podcast, but just like with Blogger, what's going to happen is some people they came in, they're all excited and this is great, and they're going to get bored, or they're not going to have inspiration or whatever. And the podcast episodes are going to go up less frequently, and all of a sudden they're going to stop going up. That's going to be a portion. I'm not saying what portion. That's going to be a portion. Another portion is going to say, wow, this is a really fun thing to do. And I want to make it even better. I want to be able to do all this great drop in and sound effects and maybe have something else going on in the background. And I want to produce commercials and whatever. And they are going to invest in different app or different service and programs and better equipment than my creative headset that I'm wearing right now. And that's the route they're going to take. And more power to them. And they'll probably leave Anchor behind, or they'll still use Anchor for distribution. Why not? It's free. But they're going to do everything else not using the Anchor built-in tools. Then we have the people, which I expect I will be one of these people. I might get some higher end equipment at some point, but yeah, after the money gets raised. But I suspect that myself and a number of others are going to be in this for the long haul, and we're going to continue producing, and we are going to continue giving of ourselves to the community, and not just the Anchor community, the OSR community, podcasting in general. Heck, some people might spin off a second podcast. They enjoy it that much, but they're going to stay with Anchor. Just like I have stayed with Blogger all these years. I'm thinking about moving on from Blogger. Don't get me wrong, but I've been with it for over 9 years. I don't see why Anchor could not grow with that. But I don't think that the community that we are seeing forming now is going to have all the same members 6 months from now. Like I said, some people will have their podcasting desire satisfied with a handful of episodes and then realize it's not for them, or they don't have the time or whatnot. That's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. Now, as for being successful with your podcast, success speaks for itself. And success is something that only that individual podcaster can truly judge. What do you consider success for your podcast might not be the judging that I would do for my own podcast, and that's fine. If you're happy with what you're producing, that's great. Now, that being said, I took an important lesson from college. Not too many of them, remarkably, but one I did. That was from a creative writing class, Professor Teitel. And he said, and this is pretty much a direct quote, that if you are writing for yourself and for just your own enjoyment, you are participating in mental masturbation. There's no issue with producing stuff that you are interested in and that speak to you, but you also need to speak to an audience. So my suggestion to those that are listening, those that want to drop into the podcasting field that is growing, do it. But talk about something that you have an interest in or you're passionate about, because you know what? When you're not just talking to yourself, when you're talking to and with your audience, that will in and of itself breed success. I really think it comes down to something that simple. Now, I know I have at least one voicemail on this topic. I'll get to that tomorrow or Friday. But I wanted to get this up. I wanted to address it. Again, Anchor is an awesome tool to become part of the podcasting community. People at my wife's job, and she's a social worker, have gotten into podcasting via Anchor. Her boss is thinking about doing it. So really, it takes away a lot of barriers. You know, does it mean that I'll be producing stuff of the tight quality of Ken and Robin talk about shit? No. They got professionals working on that. You got me. But if you like listening to me talk, or at least you find me entertaining, so be it. All right, folks. On that note, and I sign out the same way, every way. If you don't like it, whatever. Uh, Stay safe. Be well. God bless. Roll your dice. And I will talk with you all tomorrow. Little later, folks.